So lately, I've been thinking about video games. Video games and me have a long, long history together. From the mystical stories of Wizard 101 and Pirate 101 to the tragic tales in Transistor, I love playing games, especially ones with a hefty amount of lore to tell, which is precisely why I'm waiting for Wolf Among Us 2 to come out one of these days. But I noticed that as I've gotten older, I have experienced way more guilt about playing games than I used to. This has become more of a thing recently because of a game that I finally picked up after years of having it in my Steam library. Baldur's Gate 3. Cyclical thing, this guilt. Especially because when I was younger, I was called out for how much I played video games. In 3rd grade, I wrote an essay about Zafaria, an explorable world that came out for Wizard 101, and how on launch day, I spent 8 hours straight playing the game. How much I loved it and felt like I was in the world. Now, in retrospect, as a fully grown adult, I'm sure Wizard 101 has problems. I haven't played the worlds in forever, but as a kid, a teen, obsessed. And when I submitted that essay to my teacher, she brought me over behind her desk and very loudly scolded me for playing a game for 8 hours. This was before I've had baby time, so I'm sure this is just the average screen time of any kid in school nowadays. What can I say? I've invested early, a connoisseur of screen time brain rot. When thinking about this memory, there are worse things for kids to do with their free time than play an age-appropriate game, and even if there wasn't, scolding a kid for doing their essay in a way that shames them in front of their classmates is a little intense. But I didn't have that insight at like 8 years old, so I just felt the shame of being judged. And as I grew older, there was still a general consensus around me that playing games is not productive. It's something people do when they're wasting their days away instead of something considered better or normal, like binge watching a show, playing a sport, scrolling on your phone for hours even though you know you have things to do. Doubly so for being a girl who enjoyed games, at least in the early 2000s and 2010s. It's better now, not fully, but girls have fought for cozy gaming spaces, especially so they can play their very fun, very cozy games like catching a murderer and having a farm. Gaming is this weird middle line of enjoying yourself, consuming media, thinking critically, and yet still feeling kind of bad for it. Because, as I grew, my expectations for how I should use my time grew with me. Instead of playing games, I had shifted over to watching playthroughs while drawing, a tentative middle line where I could still explore what a story had to offer and still do something productive, quote unquote. I've done this with a lot of things, video essays, tutorials, jazz music 1 hour with cafe ambiance, and that worked for a good long while. And then Hades came out. For context, as many of you know, I've been obsessed with the games of Supergiant, the creators of Hades, for years before it came out. Transistor and Pyre, even if I only watch playthroughs of them, hold very close to my heart. Hades, like Transistor and Pyre, was a story that technically you could explore by just listening to a playthrough, but that playthrough may not get you all the dialogue you do if you played it on your own. The Let's Player may even, wrongly, choose to date only one companion when you can date both of them. A travesty, truly. You can tell where my frustrations were. And so I picked up gaming again. Long after Hades came out, I bought it on sale and sunk over 100 hours in like 2 weeks, and it was bliss. Oh my god, the story was incredibly impactful as someone who'd also come from a fractured family, who also avoided their own issues. The healing, the music, Gen Z's art, once again cooking. They can't keep getting away with this. It is splendid. And because of the low cost of not just Hades, but also their other games, I jumped into Pyre and Transistor as a player instead of a watcher, got to re-experience their stories and feel the roller coaster of emotions again through my own pace. Then I felt it. That little twinge of guilt. I had just started nursing school. I had to focus on it. I should focus on it. And I did. I put in the time and the work, but not a drop more than I could spare. And I sunk back into Hades. I haven't touched the original Hades or Transistor or Pyre since I'm satisfied with what I have, and so my craving for this genre of existing and spending my time felt settled. It was this interesting experience though, because unlike Hades or Transistor, games that I could play straight through without having to worry that I've messed up or missed a major plot point, Pyre is very focused on how your decisions shape the ending. Because, spoilers for Pyre, here's a skip point. In Pyre, not everyone can gain freedom from your collective predicament, and it's up to you as to who deserves that honor. In a similar fashion, Baldur's Gate 3, see we were going to get to the thumbnail of this video eventually, had the same sort of agony instilled in me. It's these games, the ones that aren't linear, where you have infinite possibilities for how a story could go, that enrapture my soul. And it's these games, these long, expansive stretches of fantasy that take hours upon hours upon hours, where I start to feel really guilty. Because instead of spending only a few days cramming an experience into my eyes, I am gently reminded that there is so much, so much, and that it takes time. That finishing a game where the first act took me like 30 hours is not reasonable to complete in just a little sprint. And even though I was absorbed in every facet of this adventure, sometimes the only thought I'd think was, I could have just watched someone else play this game. Someone else have this experience that I live vicariously through them. And yeah, they wouldn't have made the same choices or designed the same character, but you could be doing something better with your time. Something more productive. And I could. Reasonably, I could just watch someone else play this game. But this isn't like most of the games that I watch playthroughs of. The ending someone gets, I know it wouldn't satisfy me. But also, what the fuck is productive? I want to be a witch. Let me play the Stardew Valley of Witches that is Witchbrook. Let me at it. Let me play all the different classes in Baldur's Gate. That's gonna be awesome. Let me see all the unique dialogue I can do if I send this person over here in Pyre, because why not? Truly, the root of it is I tend to feel very guilty when I do anything that I can't tie back to drawing. In a more all-encompassing term, life goals thing, any goals that aren't directly towards traveling around the world or creating or advocating, even reading a book because my brain can't process audiobooks, enjoying a story in that, or even sometimes hanging out with my friends, I can't help but have this voice wondering what the best version of my time would be, and never even considering that my enjoyment is a part of that picture. This is a little bit because of external expectations, comparison, when I see adults who create more with less time. But also, what's the point of me making things all the time if I never have fun with what the world has to offer? I can keep reducing my joy, finding a weird middle ground, one where I'm begrudgingly okay because, yeah, this playthrough is a playthrough of a game that I'd get more out of on my own. But hey, at least I'm drawing one more drawing today out of pure spite. I can keep going. Other people have, but I can't. I have a brain that is not built to withstand long-term commitment unless it has long-term breaks within it. And the more I disrespect that, the worse my quality of life and the worse my quality of work becomes. I create stories not because I never want to engage with them, but because I can't help but embrace them in every place I find them. It is a reminder that other people's experiences and mine are so precious and important. If I don't absorb other people's stories, then how can I represent their pain, comfort, triumph in my own worlds? How can I absorb their worldviews, learn more about myself, and become a better person? person. It is the stories told in mysticality that reveal what you want to change, what your biases are, the societal constraints and systems you've convinced yourself are okay. And then you see what needs alteration, not just in a tale or in a society, but in yourself. And to half-ass it kind of feels like a disservice. The point of life is to enjoy things, obviously, not to a point where you start feeling worse about yourself and ignore that you haven't eaten in 12 hours, but to the point where you find out what you love and what you can grow in. Having to choose between conflicts in Baldur's Gate 3 and realizing I was always trying to negate a negative outcome, and it was making things worse. These guys needed and deserved to be beaten up. They clearly weren't going to change their behaviors, and the more I tried not to start a fight, the more I realized they gotta die, which I know is silly, but like, genuinely, my response to terrible people is to resolve and stop conflict. But there's no point if you don't actually treat the root cause of the conflict. And if the root cause doesn't want to be treated, you still gotta better the world in the ways that you can. Some people will not change when you try and help them to do so because they are not at that point. Sometimes it's important to do the groundwork and build steps for them to better themselves, ways for them to plant seeds. And sometimes people have been doing bigoted, horrific stuff for years, are continuing to do that, and your energy is better spent not trying to middleman. Maybe donate to a cause, volunteer at a local place that you really care about, send a message to your representative, send 500 messages to your representative, things that actually feel like they help instead of digging a deeper hole of despair. Don't kill people in real life though, that will make conflicts worse. Which is all to say that video games, while they don't fully fall into the ways that most people think of productivity, they make people grow, bring people joy, cultivate new morals. Taking your time with what you love is what matters. Growing and having fun is what matters. It doesn't have to fall into the linear ways of productivity most people think. It just has to be impactful. Whether drawing or reading or being outside or gaming or advocating, it's all there. You are at peace, and that's all you can ask for. Thank you for watching this video. As you can see, guilt was very much consuming my brain dome when playing games. So doing this helped out with voicing my thoughts. Hopefully this also helps in a rambly sense. If not, that's okay. I also wanted to note that the world is sometimes really heavy. I know that there is always a lot going on. If you can find ways to even donate $1 to something that you care about, or volunteer at a place that you really think would impact people locally, do a job that you find fulfilling, or advocating by sending all those messages that I was talking about. I think those are ways to feel better, to contribute to a better environment. It might even be just baking something for someone that you care about, you know? It's the little things. All right, have a good rest of your day. Bye.